This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Welcome, it's Eric Erickson here. Glad to have you with me across the fruited plain. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you'd like to be on the program, looking at the PGA Championship, Scotty Scheffler went from being tied number 43 when he got on the course yesterday to he's now in fourth place. He keeps going up every hole. He just makes it just, if you arrest that guy, he gets out of jail and he's the number one golfer and he wins this thing. The guy really is just the second coming of Tiger Woods. It really just, it's incredible watching just how good that guy is. And if he doesn't win, there's the little asterisk. So he was little stressed out from a new baby and an arrest. It's incredible how good of a golfer he is. Okay, we got to not talk about golf because we've got a big issue that we need to talk about. And I will take your phone calls, 877-973-7425. One caveat here, it's an open line Friday, but you don't just have the right to get on. You do have to get past the call screener. He's got to approve your call. And don't yell at him if he doesn't call. And I'll tell you what, don't keep calling back if he says no and you keep calling back. You're not getting on. You got to make it past him. This isn't your show. It's my show. Now, Joe Biden has a real problem. I will begin with the fact that Joe Biden is headed to Georgia this weekend to Morehouse College to give a commencement address. I actually thought it had already happened, to be honest with you, but it's not. Here, just so you have the coverage, this is CNN.
Black voters were key to Biden's re-election back in 2020, and once again, the president is trying to make this fresh appeal to hold on to support from that group amid signs of some erosion in support for Biden from black voters. Now, this will include a series of events playing out over the course of the next 3 days, starting here today in Washington, D.C. The president will speak at the African American History Museum here to mark the 70th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education, that Supreme Court ruling that determined that segregation in U.S. schools was unconstitutional. Just yesterday, the president hosted the plaintiffs of Brown v. Board of Education here at the White House as he's trying to show that he's committed to protecting the advancements made by the black community in his time in office. But the marquee event is likely to be his Sunday remarks at the Morehouse commencement ceremonies, a visit that has been mired in controversy over the president's handling of the conflict in Gaza.
Yes. I mean, this thing just continues to mess it up for him. Morehouse College president is out there saying he's just going to shut the whole thing down if it gets out of hand. It's actually kind of funny that the damage control that's going into this. You need to understand Joe Biden's White House sent an advance team to Morehouse College to meet with the students to beg them not to cause a scene at graduation, putting them in the chief seat.
What we won't allow is disruptive behavior that prevents the ceremony or services from proceeding in a manner that those in attendance can partake and enjoy. So, for example, prolonged shouting down of the president as he is speaking. I have also made a decision that we will also not ask police to take individuals out of commencement in zip ties. If faced with the choice, I will cease the ceremonies on the spot if we were to reach that position. But this will not be a place where there will be a national photo op of individuals being taken out of the Morehouse campus in zip ties by the police authorities.
Okay, y'all. The Morehouse College, y'all, please. Morehouse College students. You could make history this weekend if you all get up and stage a protest at when the president speaks. Y'all could make history. One, you'd be shutting down your graduation, and I realize y'all worked hard, and you're the generation that also probably didn't get much of one from high school because of COVID, but oh my gosh, it would be hilarious. What a preview of the Democratic convention in Chicago. If the Morehouse students walk out on the president of the United States who's speaking over protesting Gaza, that would be, look at what happened with Duke. 30 students out of 7,000 walked out. And the national media says 30 students walked out, or students walked out. They didn't put it in perspective of how many kids were actually there. They made it a really big deal that they walked out on Jerry Seinfeld protesting Gaza. Oh my gosh, this could be history setting. Y'all, you have the opportunity at Morehouse this weekend to make yourselves infamous. It would be comedy gold. It would be comedy gold for you guys to protest and walk out and have the president say, "I'm sorry, President of the United States, most powerful man in the world. We can't get to your speech. We're shutting it down." Biden would be wandering the stage for the next 5 weeks trying to figure out how to get out of it. Oh my gosh, you guys have got to protest. Do me a solid and protest your graduation. That would be just fantastic. Oh my goodness gracious. But hang on, there's more. Where is this? This is the problem with the president of the United States and what they're having to deal with.
But look at this number for Donald Trump, 22%. Where was Donald Trump at this point 4 years ago in the polls? He was just at 9% of the vote. So he's seen more than a doubling in his support among African Americans. This margin, which was in the 70s just 4 years ago, look at where it is now, 69 minus 22. That puts it in the 40s. My goodness gracious. If this held through the general election, obviously we're still months away, this would be by far the best performance for a Republican candidate among black voters in a generation, 2 generations, probably since 1960 and Richard Nixon against John F. Kennedy. That's how long we're really talking about when we're looking at this margin here. This could be a truly historic margin. It's quite a troubling sign for the Biden campaign, Sarah.
Richard Nixon, comparing Trump to Nixon. Okay, that's pretty funny, but the data does align. Black voters are not happy with him, but there's a particular class of black voter that's not happy with Joe Biden, and this is perfect for Morehouse. What does the data actually show?
Where is Biden weakest among black voters? When you look at this number, who are they?
Yeah, who are these voters? And let's break it down by age, because I really think this gives you a good insight into what's exactly cooking here. Take a look here. If you look among black voters age 50 and over, you see that Joe Biden has a very substantial lead here. Look at this, 82% to 8%. This lead is still in the 70s. This looks a lot like what we saw in the overall polling back in 2020. But look at voters under the age of 50. Look here, Donald Trump is pulling 25% of that vote. Joe Biden is at just 62% of this. This lead, Sarah, this lead is south of 40 percentage points. This is historic. This is what a lot of folks have been talking about, that Joe Biden has a specific problem among younger black voters. And that is exactly what's showing up right here.
Oh, so it's it's under 50. Now, there's something to be noted here, and this doesn't get reported with all the Black Lives Matters conversations and on and on and on and on. Younger voters across the racial spectrum are actually less likely to believe that we still have massive racial struggles in this country. Young voters in the country, black voters, actually realize they do actually have it better than their grandparents in this country. And younger black voters in this country are also willing to think we've voted Democrat for so long and our lives haven't actually improved as much as they probably could. Maybe they take us for granted. Maybe we should consider voting Republican. It's showing up in so many conversations. It's showing up in so much data. It continues to show up. And I think there's something there. You know, so I was on a city council, got myself, the worst job I ever had was being a part-time city councilman. But I had a constituency of younger black men in my district, many of whom I have remained friends with, some of whom I were out of my district, but I served in city council with them. And this comes up all the time in these conversations that I have with them when we talk politics. And we rarely do talk politics, but when we do, young black men don't like Joe Biden. So I was in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and I was at the craps table. And the dealer, he was an older black gentleman. He was in his probably late 50s. And he hates Joe Biden. He knew who I was. Asked if I mind talking politics, and I didn't. And he just unleashed on Joe Biden the Three Strikes Act. He said, I know so many people who were put in prison, and he says, and I was when I was young because of that. And was furious and worked to get his life back, was only able to get a job because, and he said it was awful trying to get the job given his background. Despite all the years behind him, he hates Joe Biden because of the Three Strikes Act. And he said, Trump actually signed criminal justice reform that allowed young black men out of prison. And he's going to vote for Trump. Hates Joe Biden. He says, I'm not a fan of Trump. But Joe Biden threw people like me in jail. Donald Trump took people like me out of jail. I was stunned. I really was stunned. Anecdotes, not evidence, but I got to imagine there's a lot of that out there because it comes up in conversations I have, particularly with younger black men, that they had jobs when Trump was president. They know people who got out of prison under his prison reform legislation. Joe Biden for 50 years has made a series of racist comments. They don't like Joe Biden, and they're not willing to just vote for the Democratic Party because of their skin color like their parents and grandparents are. They think their parents and grandparents are foolish that they've been voting Democrat for so long and nothing's gotten better for them. But under Donald Trump, the world got better and the economy got better. Joe Biden has a serious problem on his hands, a serious problem, which is why he's going to Morehouse. And yet, think of this. The president of the United States wants to go address Morehouse College, and the president is afraid of a walkout. He's had to send emissaries to meet with student representatives to beg them not to cause a scene, that it might help Donald Trump. And this is the class of people who are thinking, you know what? I'm willing to help Donald Trump. You guys, y'all at Morehouse, I know what the data says of who my listeners are, and I know there are some of you who are graduating and y'all are listening right now. Y'all could do the world a solid. Y'all could do us all a really big favor if you cause a commotion at your graduation. I realize that the president of the university says he's going to shut it down and all that. But my goodness gracious, y'all would make international headlines and just be more bad press for the president of the United States, and maybe seriously do the world a solid and get him to think maybe I should be a one-term president. Y'all could make history this weekend, those of you at Morehouse. Goodness gracious. The fact that this is even a concern, though, tells you that things aren't good for Joe Biden overall. If he's got to try to send emissaries to talk to the students to beg them not to cause a commotion lest they get Donald Trump elected, yeah, things are not going well for Joe Biden with black voters. Of all things, the world is changing. We are watching a political realignment in real time, and it is fascinating to watch.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means. It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop Amazon for all your gifting needs.
All right, y'all. Okay, this is a day the internet is made for. The memes about Scotty Scheffler getting arrested. So this is one that's came out. The caption is "The PGA telling the rest of the golfers that Scotty Scheffler has been arrested."
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
That's the announcement from the Pentagon that Saddam Hussein had been captured. And then there's this one, footage obtained of Scotty Scheffler being arrested by the Louisville Police Department.
What seems to be the problem, officers?
It's enough out of you, smart guy.
Reach for your license. Slowly.
Well, Steve Sachs from New York City.
I heard some guy got killed in New York City and they never solved the case. But you wouldn't know anything about that, now would you, Steve?
But there's hundreds of unsolved murders in New York City.
You don't know when to keep your mouth shut, do you, sexy boy?
That's from The Simpsons. Some of them I can't play for you because of the language in them, but oh my gosh, it is fantastic. It absolutely, they are the Tiger Woods ones. They're so inappropriate, but so I've got several group chats going right now, and people are just stream of conscious sending the memes. One of them, the cop attaching himself to Scotty Scheffler's car, is a picture of Batman spearing into the side of Okay, so the cop says he attached himself to the side of Scheffler's car, was dragged 10 yards, and caused injury and destroyed his pants. Now, this has become one of the contentions on social media is, I'll just read you this from the police report, that Detective Gillis's uniform pants, valued at approximately $80, were damaged beyond repair. $20 says he pooped his britches. This little detail, it's the very last detail in the arrest report. Detective Gillis's uniform pants, valued at approximately $80, were damaged beyond repair. Now, you should note there are a lot of eyewitnesses. Not a single one of them says that the officer was dragged to the ground. Not a single one of them says the officer was dragged to the ground. In fact, they all say he was not dragged to the ground. And also that there was no way to know that these were police officers. That's the big issue here, is that all of the eyewitnesses say there was no way to physically identify these police officers as police officers. They were in unmarked civilian cars with raincoats on and yellow vests for safety. And they looked like the security at the golf course. And Scheffler was clearly confused and couldn't understand how they could even arrest him. Good gracious. But the memes, my gosh, the memes. Old Glory Bank is not a meme bank. It's a great bank. It is my bank. It's the one I've chosen to use because they're so highly innovative. In fact, let me give you an example of this. So by doing an ad for this bank and knowing I have a bank account with Old Glory Bank, someone has actually tried to get into my bank account. And one, they couldn't get my password. But after several attempts of trying to log into the bank, I got a message on the app that I have on my phone saying this was happening. Would you like to change your user ID? Which I did. That's the sort of innovation that Old Glory Bank has. I tell you, I've got a bank account there. People know I got a bank account. People trying to log into my account. Old Glory Bank totally protected me. They are so innovative. If I lose my debit card with the app on my phone, I can turn it off. So if I find it again and it really wasn't stolen, then I can turn it back on. That's the sort of innovation that Old Glory Bank has. They're by conservatives, for conservatives, highly thoughtful bank, and their checking and savings accounts, no fees. OldGloryBank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. OldGloryBank.com.
With Lululemon, the real gift happens when they're living in it. When you give them the softest loungewear set, the real gift is this. And this. And this. This holiday, Lululemon makes it easy to give a gift that goes beyond. Open the moment. Shop now at Lululemon.com.
Hello there. It is Eric Erickson, and I have Scotty Scheffler's first press conference he has held on the green at Valhalla, as they pretty much have now probably guaranteed to never have a PGA championship again after this. Here it is, Scotty Scheffler.
We must stop the terror. I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
That was back in the halcyon days of the Bush administration. George W. Bush on the golf course. There's a terror attack. He gives his statement, says, watch this drive now. Continues to play golf. He was eaten alive after that for continuing to play golf. Oh, my goodness. All right. 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. I have decided to take the Hill off the list of sites that I rely on for show prep. I had for a long time had a policy of not relying on the Hill for show prep because their social media accounts would grossly distort facts, and I would say willfully lie about what was happening in the world in order for clicks. And they got much better. And so I allowed them to come back. But this is their tweet today. Fox News anchor Laura Ingraham backed Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker after he gave a controversial college graduation speech telling women that their rightful place is in the kitchen. That's not what he did. And the fact that the Hill would tweet that out, it's a lie. And I'm not going to use a publication that wants to lie in order to drive traffic to its website. I don't think that's ethical or appropriate for a site to do. It continues to just baffle me that so much of the press corps is so outraged at what Harrison Butker said, and they can't even report it accurately. He said his wife leans in to being a homemaker, and that he couldn't do what he did but for his wife. And honestly, I genuinely think that that's nothing wrong with that. It may not work for you. This gets back to Whoopi Goldberg's comment. Whoopi Goldberg's comment was that Whoopi Goldberg said she's perfectly fine with him saying what he said, that he has a right to that opinion, whether she agrees with him or not, and that women who listen to his advice are going to be very happy, and women who choose not to listen to his advice are going to be very happy. What's notable to me are the number of people who listen to what he said and they can't be truthful about what he said. They've got to defame him in some way. And I find that to be very notable. 877-973-7425. I'm not going to dwell on this again. What I am going to do is I got to tell you about some news that has happened. In Rafah, the Israeli Defense Force has recovered the remains of more hostages. 4 hostages who have been held by Hamas have been found to be dead. And it's 2 of them are women. There's at least 1 man. The identity of the other, I don't think the 4th person has been identified yet. And they're dead. They found 3 hostages this morning. It appears to be there's a 4th one now who's been found and not yet identified. They're in Rafah. Israel could have gone into Rafah. We don't know when these individuals died. We have no idea when they died. And had Israel gone in sooner, they might have been able to rescue them while they're alive. But because of the Biden administration and Biden's policies, the Biden administration slowed Israel down. And in slowing Israel down, they put lives at risk. I have to tell you that I think at this point, Israel just needs to go in and destroy Hamas and whatever it takes. And if Rafah is rubble, Rafah is rubble. It's time to wrap this up. And the way to wrap it up is to let Israel off the chains. Israel should not have to be beholden to the Biden administration for their self-defense. And right now, what ultimately has happened is that the Israelis are relying on the Biden administration and the goodwill of the Biden administration to protect them from an international community. But the Biden administration is making it much more difficult for Israel to pursue justice and rescue its hostages. It's time to wipe Hamas off the map. And if that means that you got to level Rafah at this point. Everyone's made their choice here. And what is most notable to me is that for all the people who have cried about the plight of the poor Palestinians, not a single one of them has called for the release of the hostages. And in fact, many of them tore down the pictures of the hostages. It's time for Israel to unleash hell, get back any survivors they can, and destroy Hamas. It is time for Israel to do what it must do. And frankly, it's time for Benjamin Netanyahu to just let the military do what the military needs to do instead of slow walking it. There are people on the left in this country who are trying to have it both ways. They're trying to say Israel needs to slow down and not go into Rafah, and they're also trying to say Israel has slowed down because Netanyahu wants to drag this out to protect himself. Well, Netanyahu, you can prove them wrong now by letting the military go into Rafah with all deliberate speed and change this thing. By the way, I got to play you guys something. Remember the old Time Life music videos and music you could call a number and order a bunch of CDs? Some guy on Twitter, I wish I could remember his name, but he did this, and this is worth playing for you guys.
Get ready for big protest energy. Susan Sarandon presents Ceasefire Now, That's What I Call Music, Volume 10.7. 17 of Hamas's most explosive hits. Let's rock, all rock, we want it to you. Yeah, they're not terrorists. You can have all your favorite hits in one place from all your top Intifada superstars. Whoa! Be a rebel and rock out to Houthi and the Blowfish. There's nothing I can do. I only want to blame the Jews. We'll take over your cruise. I only want to be with hits from Kanye West Bank, Miley Cyrus, and the Dave Farters Band. No Ceasefire Now mix would be complete without R. Kelly's remix to Resistance.
Remix to Resistance, where we target civilians, and we won't stop fighting till our mission to...
That's so well done. That is just fantastic. We got to let Israel resolve the situation. We can't just allow Hamas to go on in the Palestinian territory. The Biden administration doesn't have any solution. They've convinced themselves actually that Hamas is not a threat anymore. That's what the Biden administration has done. They've convinced themselves that Hamas is not a threat. And so Israel can wind this down now and Hamas won't come back to power. The delusional thinking by this administration, it's time for Israel to just go into Rafah and do what they need to do. 877-973-7425. Jesse, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Hi. I just wanted to talk to you. I'm so thankful that your wife was able to see your daughter graduate yesterday, 6 years ago. My wife, who had a very bad heart problem, she knew she was going to die. And I got really upset when I realized that I was going to hear her. And I talked to God for about 6 months. And I finally realized I was being like Job. And I said, okay. God said, look, give her up to me, or you may have to bury your children. And I said, I think I can do that. It's amazing how when you talk to you can do things like that. And I did. But we prayed that my grandson might be able to graduate from high school, and she'd be able to see him graduate. And she did. Got to see him graduate, and God gave her another year. You talk about the abundance of God's grace. He gave her another year for her to go out to Jacksonville State University and see him in the marching band on all the home games. And we saw them actually play a game here in northwest Atlanta also. So we were able to do that. But God was able to do that. And I want you to know, Eric, that God is able to give you abundantly above more than you can ever ask.
Listen,
and he has done that already.
I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate you a ton for calling in, and I will tell you how my mind works on this, Jesse, and I know it shouldn't work that way. I know it shouldn't work that way. But this is the way my mind works, and it is, I got my son in 3 years, and I want my wife there for him now. And we were so emotionally invested in, would she make it to our daughter's graduation? And she did. Now, of course, we're at, will she make it to our sons? I don't know. So my wife has scans coming up on Tuesday. She'll have her next round of scans. And God willing, they will be good scans again. We hope so. And I hate to have that fatalistic tendency, but y'all know my motto here is, why pray when I can worry? And I worry, and I try not to. And so much of what I say, to be real honest with you, it's to encourage myself and to remind myself, but I can do it here behind the microphone and encourage you guys as well. Just in all honesty and candor here, I sometimes get a little fatalistic about this stuff, and I try not to. And there are days I wonder, I tell myself, Erickson, you talk a good game. What happens when the day comes? How are you going to handle it? What are you going to do? And I don't know. Am I going to be a disappointment to all of you and myself and how I act? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. We will find out when that day comes, but I'm just going to keep praying that it doesn't come anytime soon. I would love to have my wife be around long enough to be a grandparent. We have this sword of Damocles over us, and every 3 months she goes for scans. There is no cure for this cancer, and there have been so many kind people over the years who have said, if she just drink this hydrogen peroxide mixture, it would get rid of the tumors, or frankincense oil. The number of people into essential oils who assure me that if she would just use frankincense, it would take care of her cancer. That I know they mean well. I know they mean well. Again, I'm talking to myself right now, not to y'all. I know they mean well. But I also know the situation that they don't know. But I also know God's good all the time. And prayer works. And there can be weeping through the night, but joy cometh in the morning. I know that as well. But listen, Jesse, this is, okay. I got to do an ad read. Let me just say this. Thank you to all of you who've been so emotionally invested as well in my wife's health journey. And your prayers have sustained us. And my wife was there at that graduation last night because doctors and medicine and God and y'all played a role in that. And I am forever grateful. Now let's get to the next graduation. Eden Pure Thunderstorm is back, and I'm glad they are. They're an air purifier, filterless. They use electrostatic plates. You can wipe them out, but they work so well, trapping pollen and trapping dust. But I want you to know, I've got Eden Pure Thunderstorm in my house, and I've never used them as an air filter. Here's how I use them, and this is where I really think they shine. They eliminate odors. My wife hates fishy odors. And when my wife, when I cook and I fry shrimp inside, they stink up the house and she gets mad at me, and I fire up the Eden Pure Thunderstorm and it wipes out those odors. It really does work. I have smoked a cigar and gotten smoke in my car. My wife is furious with me. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm wiped out the odors. You can plug it up with a USB cord. You can plug it up directly into the wall. Right now, you can get 3 of them, and you can save $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Eric3. These are not big, bulky things you have to lug around. They're small. I keep one in my travel bag. They're so small, you hold it in your hand, and they pack a wallop. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Eric3. If you've got musty odors, litter box odors, pet odors, I have a listener who keeps one in the room where they have their cat's litter box. They just work. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Eric3. You'll save $200. You'll get 3 of them.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
Hello, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. So I sent out a list of candidates to support, and I left off Kay Kirkpatrick. She is in Senate District 32 in Georgia, and I'm actually right now literally emailing out to everyone. Kay, and those of you not in Georgia, I get asked this question a lot because I used to do drive time just in Atlanta, and I would go through the list of candidates in the ballots. But now that it's a national show, I try not to do that anymore because not relevant to 3/4 of the audience. But we've been asked so much. I wanted to send this list out and make sure people have it. If you text the word data to 33777 and you're in Georgia, you want the list, it is sent out so that you can have it. At some point, I got to figure out how to do just a bit that is just on Georgia stuff, because I know I have so many WSB listeners, my flagship station, but I don't want to bother the rest of you nationwide with that sort of stuff that's just for the people in Georgia. And I don't want to get into the habit of doing these mass state level endorsements for all over the country for everybody. So I haven't figured that out yet, but one day I hope to. In any event, I want to play for you some audio real quick from Mike Garcia, who was on Fox News. He is a congressman from California.
Demonstrates just how vulnerable we are as a nation. This invasion, now 7 million people coming across our border over the last 3 years with no accountability, is probably the weakest we have been domestically, but also on the global stage in close to 100 years. And so for the White House to just, again, pretend like this problem doesn't exist and continue this policy, this open border policy, this is going to be why they lose in November. But this is going to be why ultimately hundreds, if not thousands, of American lives are lost in a future 9/11 event. And we're going to.
Yeah, he's not wrong. A foreign national who crossed the border was arrested trying to get into an American military installation. This is going to happen more and more. Joe Biden has made this country deeply vulnerable, and this is an issue for Republicans to play up for November, and they should do it now, because if a 9/11 happens because of these policies and a Republican's in charge, he's going to get the blame unless Republicans lay this out right now. They need to. Y'all have a great weekend.